Megan Payton and Dubs Anderson here in our Los Angeles studios to tell you about an epic day of stakes racing around the country. At Gulfstream Park in Florida, the track is in the midst of its signature event, Pegasus World Cup Day.
The $3 million feature boasts a star-studded group, including Kentucky Derby winner Mystic Dan, Breeders' Cup Classic champion in White Avario, and the now horse in Locked, fresh off that win in the Cigar Mile.
Dubs, don't forget Power Squeeze, the filly taking on the boys. And did we mention there's also a huge day of racing at Oaklawn Park in Arkansas? Their main event is the Southwest Stakes, a major Kentucky Derby prep.
What a day of racing. Get involved by playing all of it on your FanDuel Racing app.
Now let's head out to our team in Hallandale Beach, Florida.
Dubs, Megan, thank you. It's a beautiful Saturday morning here in South Florida. Matt Bernier alongside Larry Colmus. Larry, good to be with you on this Pegasus World Cup Saturday.
Happy Pegasus Day. It's the sun is out, and we're so happy about that. It's been absent for a few days now. It's going to be a beautiful day, and looking forward to some unbelievable racing all day long.
Beautiful weather, fast on the main track, firm on the turf, which is a nice change. We've been off the turf the past few days with that rain that had come through. Luckily, we are back on the grass, and we are dealing with firm conditions. But let's talk about the entire day and take a look at what the slate has to hold here on Pegasus World Cup Saturday. The main event comes in race number 13 with the Pegasus World Cup itself, but you can see it's stakes racing galore, start to finish. And don't forget, you've actually got some $100,000 handicaps on synthetic as well.
Yeah, those races are the 4th and the 6th on today's card, and the others are just full of really good horses. You've got a Breeders' Cup winner running in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint and no balls earlier in the card, and then it just gets bigger and better as the day goes on, culminating with the Pegasus World Cup.
This has been a day, Larry, that since the Pegasus was sort of unveiled, maybe you haven't had massive prices in the big races, but this has been kind of a harbinger of things to come throughout the rest of the year. This is a day where we've seen multiple Horse of the Years kick off their campaign.
Sure.
And we've seen some horses that then go on to do bigger and better, whether they end up winning Horse of the Year or not, but they win multiple Grade 1s. So I think you want to take a look at the horses that will compete in this year's Pegasus World Cup, which goes as race number 13. And maybe earmark a few of them. I don't know if we're going to get a giant price as far as the winner is concerned today, but I think we could end up with a pretty good group.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a very strong group headed by this guy right here, the Now horse, Locked, coming off of that win in the Cigar Mile. He is at the top of his game, and he is the morning line favorite in this race. Matt, the big question mark is that post position. At some places, post positions can be overrated. At 1 1/8 at Gulfstream Park, it's a big deal to be out there, and it's not good.
Now, things get marginally better for he and Mystic Dan, Skippy Longstocking, and Power Squeeze with the defection of Vitality.
A little,
marginally better, but that is kind of the fly in the ointment if you're a fan of Locked and you think he is the horse to beat, because at 1 1/8 on the main track here at Gulfstream, Larry, it's just so difficult to get the job done because you're almost guaranteed to have a wide trip.
We've seen horses such as Forte, Big Brown, Gun Runner. They've been able to do it.
Big names.
They're exceptional horses. Is Locked that good? That's what we're going to have to find out.
And I guess really the jury is out. We don't know. Perhaps he could be because he's still so lightly raced. He's really done nothing wrong throughout his career. Todd Pletcher was quoted earlier in the week saying he had been holding his own with fierceness for the longest time over the summer. We were just trying to find the right spot to bring him back. Locked was very impressive, winning the Cigar in his most recent start. Now he gets back out to 2 turns. Man, that post, it's so difficult. Those names that you rattled off, those are special talents.
Exactly.
Is Locked a special talent? We don't know yet.
We don't know that yet, but could he be? Yes, he could be. And if he wins today, we'll know that he is a special talent because it takes quite the horse to pull off that post position.
Steel Sunshine is a fascinating runner in this race. Now, maybe he's up against it a little bit as far as talent goes, but he's a fan favorite, and he is owned by a fan favorite, a true character of characters in Mike Ivorone.
He's hard to miss out there for sure. He always clad in his own way.
Let's find out more about one of the most colorful names in all of horse racing, Michael Ivorone.
You know, I've read some of these articles. You know, the Star did a big piece, called me the most outrageous millionaire in all of racing, and, you know, it made me out to be like Randy Macho Man Savage, you know. I love it, but I'm pretty confident that if they spent a week with me, they'd probably write something different. When I was 15 years old, I had my first experience at the racetrack. I just fell in love with it. I said, I need to get into this game, and here we are all these years later, and magically it's really worked out.
Big Brown bounding home.
Having a horse win the Kentucky Derby is, it's surreal. You can't get a better start to a syndicate from that. IEAH was a racing partnership that I had formed back in the early 2000s. Everything was going as just good as can be. And one of the money managers that had provided significant capital got into a financial disagreement with his largest client. So it forced us to liquidate many of the assets that we had. I thought maybe I was done with horse racing, and then I realized within a couple of years that it's in my blood. And then, I met my wife, and it was something that she was passionate about as well. Now it's about trying to have the best time I possibly can have. I feel like I just jumped in a DeLorean.
And this is my Pegasus,
I wore that thing?
And this was my Pegasus 1 dress.
When I ran the syndicate, I dressed differently. You can't be outrageous when you're their face. I'm sure Bill Ackman, wants to dress like me, but he can't. This one should make a statement pretty good. The persona is the persona, and so many people will tell Jules that they were afraid to go up to me because I look scary, because I'm wearing sunglasses. The Dior's of the look. Definitely not scary. True story. We went to dinner one night. A guy comes over to me. Can I get a picture? So I said, yeah, of course. So I get up and take a picture. He goes, can you put your sunglasses on? I said, oh, I actually didn't bring them tonight. I'm sorry. And he goes, oh, all right then. We're okay. So I said, really? He goes, well, that would be like taking a picture with Superman without his cape. I said, I get it. This is my spot. This is where I hang out. It's the Ferrari of tanning beds. It's no joke. The one thing about me that people don't know is they may see my Instagram and they may think I'm completely out of my mind, but they don't know me on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Maybe on a Friday, Saturday, I'll go crazy a couple times a month. But I love being home with my wife and my cat. But when we go out, we do it right. I'm still running around the clubs with 20-year-olds. I refuse to be old. There may be a day where I walk into the club and they'll be like, this dude needs to get out of here. But right now, I'm still okay. Until the day that they tell me I need to leave, I'm good.
We told you.
That's the quote right there. There may be a day where I walk in and they go, get out of here. But until then, I'm going to keep going. Mike is
not old yet.
He's extremely nice.
He is.
If you have the opportunity to chat with him, he's
kind of a normal dude, believe it or not.
Normal. So, and to his point, Monday through Thursday, normal guy. We have some fun on Friday and Saturdays, though. And
Yes,
guess what?
he does.
If Steel Sunshine wins the Pegasus,
Oh my.
this party will go on here at Gulfstream Park until we get back here tomorrow morning for racing.
He might be on the stage with Diplo.
He might take the microphone away. So Steel Sunshine maybe up against it a little bit there. He's a big price in a race where it seems like you've got some really solid favorites. The Pegasus World Cup Turf, you have solid favorites, Larry, but I don't know. Tell me if you agree or disagree. I don't get the impression that race is as solid to the favorites as maybe the dirt race is.
No, I don't think so. I mean, there is, I think, one particular favorite that will take the majority of the money in Nation's Pride, who's coming over for this race for trader Charlie Appleby, a guy who's had so much success all over the world. William Buick, by the way, who was riding in Dubai yesterday, took that 17-hour flight. I've taken that one from Dubai to Miami. I don't even know if he's here yet, but at some point he will, and he'll be riding after riding in Dubai yesterday.
He's on this horse. He's also on Bold Act earlier in the program in the mile-and-a-half race. The question for me with Nation's Pride, as far as talent goes, you could argue that he is, or maybe it's not even arguable, maybe he is just straight the best horse in the race. Mile and an eighth. What do you think about that?
I don't think it's exactly his forte. I don't think that's what he does best. So, and anytime you get an opportunity to try to beat a favorite, you look for things like that. What is the thing that could keep this horse from winning? And that might be one of the things, a mile and an eighth. There's some really good horses in this race. Even just one of them who I'm going to be picking in that race is 20-1 on the morning line, Spirit of St. Louis, who has really good numbers coming up to this race and is completely being overlooked despite the connections of Chad Brown and Tyler Gaffalione.
I think people still look at him and say, he's just a New York bred. He's better than that.
Yes, he is.
He's a very good horse, and he's in with a big chance, as are many runners in the Pegasus World Cup turf. That race is coming up later on this afternoon on a fantastic day of racing here at Gulfstream Park. But as we welcome in Caleb Keller in the FanDuel TV studios, Caleb, not only do we have a great day of racing here, we've got a major Kentucky Derby prep taking place in Hot Springs, Arkansas.
Yes, indeed, Matt and Larry. Great setup to the day there at Gulfstream Park. But as Matt was alluding to, we got a $1 million race from Oaklawn and live on-site coverage for the Southwest Stakes. This was the race that Mystic Dan won by a big 8 lengths last year before, of course, winning the Kentucky Derby. And speaking of, now that we're at the 20-point section of our Kentucky Derby trail, let's take a look at the current standings for Derby 151 and our recently crowned 2-year-old, now 3-year-old champion Citizen Bull with 40 points. Coal battle for Lonnie Briley. That's been an awesome story to follow there in second. Disco Time took the LeCompte last week, and Bill took the Gunrunner Stakes to begin the prelude there at the fairgrounds, and a whole host of talented horses, most of which were on the Kentucky Derby future wager, which was offered just going back to last weekend. But in terms of the Southwest today, we're going to see number 5 Gaming as one of the top contenders here in this race. And speaking of that live on-site coverage, Scott Hazelton and Andy B. and Cohn had a preview of the big race later on today.
Well, the road to the Kentucky Derby, presented by Spendthrift Farm, makes another stop here in Hot Springs, Arkansas. Scott and Andy with you. It is Southwest Stakes Day. $1 million on the line. Big money. Points increasing. 20 points to the winner in this instance. And some big-time names arriving here in Hot Springs.
The road to the 2025 Kentucky Derby certainly heating up, Scott. I'd say this is one of the most prominent races we've seen so far in terms of contenders.
2 horses are going to get a lot of attention. You've got Gaming, Grade 1 winner from last year, and then Patch Adams for Brad Cox, a horse that's been training in Florida at Payson. He's here in Arkansas for Brad as they look to see how this horse handles 2 turns for the first time in his career.
I think he relishes the 2-turn distance. Even just watching him gallop in the mornings, or not in the mornings, but in the afternoons, in between races here at Oaklawn Park, he's been tough to pull up, one who just keeps getting stronger throughout the gallop, and of course bred for distance.
Both by Into Mischief, that Spendthrift stallion, he won by 10 lengths in his second start as a 2-year-old after debuting at Keeneland. And we'll see how Flavian Pratt gets on for Brad Cox and China Horse Club and Windstar Farm. And then Gaming, mentioned a Grade 1 winner at 2, ran well in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile to finish second. But should we be concerned about his performance, even though it was a 3rd-place finish in the Los Alamitos Futurity where he was the odds-on favorite?
Absolutely. It's something to consider. He ended up getting beat by Getaway Car and Journalism, but I just think he should have shown a little more there. And granted, I mean, maybe there's some excuses. He had to ship over to Los Al. Who knows? He seems to have settled here nicely. I've seen him train in the afternoons here as well at Oaklawn, and seems to like the track.
A lot of depth when it comes to the Southwest Stakes. Join us later on this afternoon. We'll have complete coverage of the entire race card here at Oaklawn Park on Southwest Stakes Day.
Scott and Andy looking forward to it. $1 million. Brad Cox, and we see Bob Baffert there showing down with the favorites. And in terms of our offer today, we got quite a nice one. WinBet Insurance is in play today. So on your FanDuel Racing app, when you opt in, $10 to win. And if your horse finishes second or third, we'll refund the wager. That's going to be for all 13 races at Gulfstream Park today, and also the 8th and 10th races from Oaklawn. That 10th race will be the Southwest, and also the 8th race will be the Bugler, a sprint stakes. So 2 there at Oaklawn. Again, make sure you opt in at FanDuel Racing for that $10 WinBet Insurance, and all 13 are covered there from Gulfstream Park. And speaking of Gulfstream Park, we're heading back there with Matt and Larry. And gentlemen, they started this race to be the 9th running of the Pegasus, and the idea they had to come to fruition really has here come a decade later.
Caleb, it certainly has. Again, we talked about sort of the names that have won this race or have gone on to do bigger things. You've got names like Arrowgate in there, Gunrunner in there, Nick's Go is in there,
oh, yeah,
Life is Good is in there. I mean, these are some of the best that we've seen really over the better part of the past decade.
Oh, yeah. Some huge names have won this race, and we've got some big ones in this year's edition, too, to add to that list.
That is race number 13. Race number 1 is only 15 minutes away. When we come back here on FanDuel TV, we're going to set the stage for an absolute skullbuster of an opener.
Let's go.
The favorite is 3-1. The pick 5 pool already to $250,000.
Let's do this.